Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Don't mind me just playing some video games that don't involve Sonic the Hedgehog, because believe it or not, I actually do like to play other games and indulge myself in other pieces of media that don't involve Sonic. Even though my video track record lately would have you believe otherwise. Yep, that's actually how I got started here on YouTube all those years ago, back in the good old days of 2014 when it was just me, my laptop, a shitty screen recorder, and some Happy Wheels, thinking I was gonna be the next PewDiePie or something. Here, check this out.
Yo, what's up, Pebbles? This is FireAntoniyo here. Tonight I am doing a Happy Wheels video. I haven't played this in a while and it's actually pretty fun.
Metal Gear is a video game series. I could end the video right there. Metal Gear is a video game series that I know surprisingly little about. I've always known about it by its reputation, of course. I know who Snake is, I know about the codex calls, I know the sound effect. I know Shadow Moses, but I'm somewhat of a newcomer when it comes to actually playing any of the series entries. My first Metal Gear experience was something of an unconventional one too. I remember playing the OG one for the first time at the back of the classroom on my shitty MacBook Pro. You know, instead of writing my essay that was probably worth like 40% of my grade. I mean, I also played a lot of Snake in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I know that doesn't count, but I'm really scraping the bottom of the barrel here. But that's about the extent of my history with the games. I've been meaning to try this series out, I constantly hear about how great the games are, but I don't know, I just never end up getting around to it. However, I did recently secure myself a copy of the Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection for PS3, so I'm pretty excited to jump in, but Lord knows when that'll be. I bought this one too.
Metal Gear Solid 5.
But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Naturally, in order to get myself equipped with Hideo Kojima's legacy, I decided to try out one of the Metal Gear titles a few years back. And double naturally, I just so happened to pick the one which is considered the furthest possible thing from what a Metal Gear experience is. But I f***ing loved this game. Developed by Platinum Games and published by Konami in February of 2013, Xbox 360s and PS3s were blessed with Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. I love how they just slapped revenge and vengeance together to make the ultimate edgy word. Batman would be proud. Something's in my ass. For some context, even though this game has Metal Gear in the title, Metal Gear Rising is a spin-off of sorts to the mainline Metal Gear Solid series, meaning Snake is nowhere to be found this time around. Instead, we jump into the shoes, or bionic feet rather, of Raiden. And instead of the tactical, stealthy espionage gameplay the series is known for, we're greeted to some good old refined hack and slash beat 'em up gameplay that Platinum Games is best at. And man, were they the right guys for the job here. I didn't know much about Raiden prior to getting into this game, other than he shows up in the main series from time to time, and he fights a guy who is apparently impervious to being stabbed in the chest multiple times. He also escaped from a military base while completely butt-ass naked. Yeah, I'm really gonna need some context here. Soon, my darling, soon. I discovered MGR all the way back in 2018. I remember loving it at first, the wild over-the-top action and that blood-pumping soundtrack made for a truly great first impression. But somewhere along the lines, I just stopped playing. I don't know why or what even caused me to stop playing this game, leaving it to collect dust in my Steam library, but it soon suffered a fate that most of my game collection eventually succumbs to, being a conversation piece.
Anthony, why the do you have Anime World War II?
That was until late last year, early this year came around. Somehow, some way, Metal Gear Rising made its way back into the limelight. I was seeing it pop up everywhere. Well, mainly in Discord memes, but even the game's OST was being recommended to me on YouTube again. So I guess you could say, thanks to the power of memes, Metal Gear Rising made its way back into my line of fire to finally play it all the way through. And man, what a ride it was. Alright, now I always take forever to get to the bloody point, so now that I'm finished my rambling, let's pop this bad boy in and prepare ourselves for some brilliant over-the-top cyborg ninja action. I'm actually playing the PC version of this game for this video. I'm just holding my PS3 copy for dramatic effect. Set 4 years after the events of Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Parakeets, our journey begins in Africa. Raiden, along with his private military company group named Maverick, are escorting Prime Minister Namani through the city. They're soon ambushed by an enemy PMC group named Desperado, a group of cyborg ninja terrorists whose goal is to rebuild the war economy by turning children into cybernetic child soldiers by harvesting their brains and training them in VR. I honestly couldn't make this shit up if I tried. We're then thrusted into the first level, and you might want to sit down for this one, ladies and gentlemen, because this is possibly the greatest first level you'll play in any video game. Starts off pretty standard, it throws a few enemies your way to wail on so you can get a feel for how the combat works, and then it's all like, hey, wanna slice and dice a guy into dog food because you can? When you think it can't get much better, the game wastes no time and just straight up puts you up against Metal Gear Ray. I have no idea how much of a big deal this is, I'm just pretending I know what I'm talking about. Now, normally I'd complain about a game not giving the player enough time to breathe or get a grasp on how things work, but MGR's method of just throwing you into the deep end right off the bat, putting you up against one of the strongest enemies the series offers, is so goddamn exhilarating and memorable. This is also the first time we get to hear one of the best tracks in any video game, Rules of Nature. You know what, scratch that, this is one of the best songs I've heard in my entire life. I don't care how cheesy the lyrics are, this song goes hard. While the boss is kinda simple in retrospect, it only consists of avoiding attacks and button mashing the crap out of weak points. But the sheer spectacle of this battle, coupled with the music blasting alongside it, is truly something. But the best part of all of this is when the lyrics kick in just as the fight's concluding. Need I remind you this game just started? Alright, I'm probably going way too fast here, but holy shit, man. We're only like 10 minutes into the game and we're already smacking giant robots around.
Hey, FireAntoniyo. Now, I bought the Family Guy box set so we can start watching it together. Oh. Huh, is that Metal Gear Rising? Looks like you're at the final boss already.
Wait, what?
Well, yeah, look how big that thing is. That's the final boss, right?
This is only the tutorial boss, my guy.
They swapped out the hydraulic cutter for a plasma cannon.
I'll stick to what I know, thanks.
I'll try to elaborate a little more on what's actually going on here. The enemy PMC Desperado was sent to Africa to assassinate Prime Minister Namani in an effort to spark another war. I'll get more into why this is later in the video, but all you need to know for now is that Raiden doesn't make for a very good bodyguard. The two big bads we encounter here in Africa are Jetstream Sam, an extremely skilled samurai, and Sundowner, the leader of Desperado enforcement. After defeating Metal Gear Ray, Raiden gives chase to Sundowner, who's just, you know, casually making off with the Prime Minister. Once we chase him down for a bit,
Damn you, Chief. It still works?
we get another balls to the walls encounter with Metal Gear Ray. In the same level, mind you. And it's still fun? This action set piece right here where Raiden's using the missiles as platforms is so f***ing stupid, but Raiden somehow makes it look cool as hell. After quickly making scrap out of Metal Gear Ray, Raiden manages to catch up to Sundowner just in time. He jumps aboard the train and makes his way to where the Prime Minister is being held captive. But as I just spoiled, this doesn't exactly go too well. The Prime Minister is killed in a glorious gory fashion, and Raiden is left with Jetstream Sam, who effortlessly hands our ass to us on a silver platter. Sleep it off, she'll be right. Just as Jetstream Sam's about to make a human kebab out of Raiden, we're saved by Maverick security just in the nick of time. Unfortunately for our hero, Sam gets away and we're missing an eye in our left arm. But hey, things could be much worse, right? Shortly after, we're introduced to the rest of our comrades at Maverick Security. There's the main man himself who saved our skin, Boris Vyacheslavovic. God, I am so sorry if I'm butchering that. Then we have Kevin Washington and Courtney Collins, who act as our guy and gal in the chair. And last but certainly not least, we have Doctor, the crazy funny German scientist, yeah? I'm sorry. With Doctor's help, Raiden made a full recovery from his run-in with Sam and got a kick-ass new cyborg suit to boot. And with the stage set and the future at stake, we're finally able to begin our journey to stop terrorists from making cyborg children commit war crimes. This makes a lot more sense in context, I swear. I've been told that MGR's story is a lot more straightforward than that of the other Metal Gear titles, but I'm gonna move on to other areas of the game now, because as much as I would love to stand here and explain every single intricacy of this game's plot, I'd probably be here all damn day if I did. So, I'm gonna move on to the real meat of this video and explain just why it is that I adore this title so much. Would you believe me if I told you it was the gameplay? Metal Gear Rising offers some of the most fun hack and slash gameplay I've ever had the pleasure of playing. Compared to Platinum's other titles such as the Bayonetta series, which is good in its own respects, this game by far has the most exhilarating, fast-paced, and satisfying combos and techniques to pull off. Then again, Bayonetta 3 is still a thing, so we'll see. You've got your standard light and heavy attacks that most folks should be accustomed to. But the way the game lets you seamlessly chain these attacks together is so satisfying. No matter what combination of buttons you're mashing, Raiden's always on the move, making for one of the most fluid combat systems around. This game is fierce and in your face, and it wants you to know it. For example, instead of having a dedicated dodge button like most other combat-focused games, the main way of avoiding incoming enemy attacks is by throwing yourself into the action and parrying. This is done by holding the control stick in the appropriate direction and pressing the attack button. Utilizing Raiden's parry will undoubtedly take some getting used to at first. It is a pretty unconventional way of defending yourself compared to other games, but it doesn't take too long before you're pulling off insane combos while simultaneously saving your bacon in the most badass way ever. It's both a dangerous yet rewarding playstyle, and it just works so goddamn well for this game. If you screw up the parry, you'll get hit and take some damage. Shocker, I know. But if pulled off successfully, you'll leave your foes wide open to a counterattack. And more often than not, your counterattack comes in the form of Zendatsu, Metal Gear Rising's standout mechanic. Instead of just slicing and dicing your enemies into dog food as I previously mentioned, this doubles as your main way of healing throughout the journey. When activating Raiden's Zendatsu, the enemy's weak point will be exposed to the player. Simply take aim, cut them in two, and effortlessly rip out your enemy's spine and use their bodily fluids to replenish your own.
Why do I get the feeling this game is unlocking some repressed homicidal feelings within you?
Because it is. Keep in mind, you can only activate Zendatsu when your energy gauge is full, or glowing this bright cyan color. You fill your energy gauge by simply hacking away at foes or by finding energy replenishment items scattered around the place. And sometimes your foes will need to have taken a certain amount of damage before Zendatsu can outline their weak point. Meaning fighting these guys with the giant hammers who do nothing but deflect your attacks becomes really fucking annoying if it's the 8th billionth time you fought them. Bottom line though, Zendatsu is an important part of Raiden's arsenal, and a skill that you, the player, will definitely have to get good at performing. The game will constantly be introducing new ways to utilize the mechanic, ranging from normal enemy encounters, various set pieces throughout the levels, and even in pretty much all of the boss fights. In terms of MGR's structure, it's as basic as it gets. You start at point A and make your way to point B while fighting dudes and exploring a bit along the way. Though, while this approach to level design is somewhat linear, this isn't a bad thing at all, and in fact I think it works in the game's favor anyway. If I had to compare this structure to anything, I'd say it's in a similar boat as something like Mega Man. You traverse a themed stage of sorts and fight a boss at the end that relates to the level somehow. Wow, did I really just compare Mega Man? There's plenty to do in each of the levels this game throws at you, so you're never gonna get bored here. On top of the blood-pumping high-speed action, the game occasionally allows the player to catch their breath every now and again. You can use these opportunities to explore your surroundings and seek out a few hidden goodies here and there.
Is that a real-life woman?
When it comes to the things you'll find lying around the place,
I don't even know what a real-life woman smells like.
when it comes to the things you'll find lying around the place, I found only around half of them to be actually useful. There's the aforementioned energy replenishment items and even healing items lying around, both of which are extremely useful for obvious reasons and they'll get you out of some sticky situations. But then there are the less useful ones. Yeah, I'm talking crap like grenades, smoke bombs, and even hologram decoys. In your standard Metal Gear experience, I'm sure these would be extremely useful. Well, look at this. Does it look like I want to be sneaking around here? You can even find two types of rocket launchers as well, though these are very situational and I could probably count on one hand the amount of times they actually came in handy. But then there are the items that you 100% should be on the lookout for, particularly things like high quantities of battle points which are required to level up Raiden in between missions, and then health containers that permanently increase Raiden's health bar. So if you're playing on the harder difficulties like I was, you absolutely need to find these. Jesus Christ! I sort of just joked about it a moment ago, but this game does actually try to get you to do some stealth in a few sections. While I appreciate the option being at the player's disposal and Platinum trying to stay true to the source material, the game we got was not built with stealth in mind, so these areas feel super forced and pretty clunky at that. Sometimes in certain areas there are even civilians being held hostage, and the only way to save them is by going in quietly and taking everyone out within a certain time frame. What's even more bullshit is that if you do save the hostage, you score an arseload of battle points, but the developers make it impossible to do this half the time. How the hell am I supposed to get to this guy without alerting the guards? You know what, since I'm in my whiny mood now, something else that really bothered me throughout my playthrough was the camera. Good lord, this thing needs to learn what personal space is. This issue is particularly noticeable during the Zendatsu finisher move. Either you're too close to a wall or enemies just straight up block your view half the time. This one's more of a nitpick, but I'm still gonna whinge about it. I hate how your AR display can only be used while walking. The moment Raiden breaks into Ninja Run, it shuts off and you have to stop, start walking, and push up on the D-pad to reactivate it. This is annoying when you just want to quickly search an area but are forced to leisurely jog around the place. Speaking of the Ninja Run, here's the thing. Raiden in general controls pretty well for the most part, and the Ninja Run does help with traversing a few certain areas, and it looks cool as hell. But there were instances where Raiden couldn't make jumps without the Ninja Run, and when the game tries to get you to do precise platforming, it feels super finicky because Raiden is either moving way too fast or the platforms are way too small. Like this section in the Cherry Blossom Garden. This part took me so damn long because Raiden controls like shit in the air. Oh wait, there's a ramp here. What, you thought I was good at video games? Lastly, while not as common as all of the above, I did actually encounter a few glitches during my playthrough. But these occurrences were few and far between, so we'll just have to write it off as PC ports being PC ports. Maybe. It's probably starting to sound like I hate this game, but I gotta give my criticisms. I'm trying my hardest not to sound like a cranky, cynical bastard in my videos. Everything I just whinged about are small gripes that I have with this otherwise fantastic game. I just want to make that perfectly clear. Like I said before, flaws are very important to address. That way, future products of any sort can improve later down the line. Because we're definitely gonna get a sequel to this game, right? Right, Konami? Anyways, back to the good stuff. Like I said earlier, you'll encounter one of Metal Gear Rising's famous boss battles at the end of most levels. And holy sh**, these fights are what separate the boys from the men. The first of which was Metal Gear Ray, which was, you know, kind of fucking epic. Next up is IF Prototype LQ84I. Blade Wolf for short. This adorable little pupper is the wake-up call for anyone who thought this game was gonna be just another walk in the park. If you haven't got your parrying technique down packed by now, you better learn and learn it pretty quickly. Upon defeating Blade Wolf, Raiden goes on to recruit him as an ally, meaning he'll be joining us for the rest of the game as our good little boy. How they managed to reassemble him after Raiden turned him into a pile of nuts and bolts is beyond me. Look at him the next time he shows up, not a scratch. Following soon after is Mistral. My girlfriend. Or as she describes herself,
the cold wind of France.
Marry me! While a little bit easier than Blade Wolf, Mistral will still give you a run for your money. That spear that doubles as a whip ain't no toy, I'll tell you that much. The only part I really don't like about this battle is constantly being interrupted by these little, dwarf geckos? Wow, that's really their name, huh? These little bastards don't leave you alone for the entire goddamn fight. Get out of my way! Just let me talk to women! I don't get to do that very often! Looking past all that though, this boss fight is a lot of fun. It's just a shame that Mistral had to be killed off so soon. After 3 pretty intense phases, the boss fight ends in the coolest way possible. Because she froze to death? After screwing around in Mexico for a bit in Raiden's disguise. Are you f***ing kidding me? Raiden makes his way to America and faces off against Monsoon, who lectures us about memes.
I f***ing love Among Us.
No, seriously, listen to the man.
Memes. The DNA of the soul.
This fight kicks ass. Not only does Raiden fully embrace his Jack the Ripper persona preceding this fight, but the battle as a whole just oozes testosterone. Remind me never to say that again. Monsoon is no walk in the park either. No sir, this guy will test you on every little thing that you've learnt up to this point. I love how eventually he just divides himself into pieces as a way of avoiding your attacks. You know, because he can just do that, don't question it. Bottom line though, everything about this fight is incredible. He's fast, he's fierce, and he f***ing loves Among Us!
Holy crap, we accessories make for great weaponry!
After Raiden infiltrates World Marshal's headquarters, we discover their collection of child brains. And we finally get to square things off with Sundowner, and let me tell you, He's actually really easy. While I still enjoy this fight a lot, even I'll admit the guy gives you way too many opportunities to just wail on him, and the only real threat you need to look out for are his explosive shields, which are pretty easy to avoid, and you get to cut them off during the fight anyway. It's like the devs themselves knew this fight was too easy. They legit just added a few helicopters into the mix for Raiden to take care of. Let me just, Then we have the man himself, Jetstream Sam. And if it weren't for that stupid nickname, I'd be shaking in my boots right now. I still was though. Raiden copped a serving from this guy at the beginning of the game, so finally being able to confront him after all we've been through was so nerve-wracking and riveting. This fight in general just feels different from the rest. Instead of stopping the bad guys because, well, they're bad, this particular duel feels personal this time around. The fight doesn't throw any annoying gimmicks at you either, like helicopters and dwarf geckos. Instead, the main theme here is Raiden and Sam's ideals and morals clashing just as hard as their swords do. As for the fight itself, he's not the hardest thing in the game, but he's no piece of cake either. Both cyborg soldiers are pretty equally matched, meaning
anything you can do, I can do better.
There's a standout part in this fight where Sam drops his sword, and you're like, oh, thank God he dropped his sword. And then you're like, sweet mother of he dropped his sword! Something worth mentioning too is pretty much every boss fight in this game ends with you going ham on each Desperado member. But not with Jetstream Sam. Instead, the fight ends with Raiden simply impaling him and leaving him to bleed out. Sam willingly accepts defeat and dies with honor, which was a somber yet welcome change of pace. Conflicted on what just transpired, Raiden and Blade Wolf decide to honor Sam's death by sparing his sword and sheathing it in the most cinematic way possible. Now, I know what you're all thinking, and no, I haven't forgotten about you-know-who yet. Just hold your horses, we're getting there. There's just one more thing I want to talk about before getting to all that. I would be committing a crime if I didn't gush about Metal Gear Rising's absolute masterpiece of a soundtrack. I've already addressed Rules of Nature, but I'd be doing this game a major disservice if I didn't talk about the rest of the tracks. While the music that plays during regular enemy encounters and some of the level songs are pretty good, I'm of course talking about the vocal tracks that play during the already fantastic boss fights. I can't exactly put into words just how much these songs slap, so I'm just gonna let them do the work for me.
I finally found what I was looking for. A place where I can be without a bar. And it will flow, leave the brain for nothing. And it will not let up until the end is near. When the wind is slow and the fire's hot, the vulture waits to see what runs. Oh, I'm ready. All the scenery. This is nature's sacrifice. There will be blood.
Forget whatever gym playlist you had before this game. This is your gym playlist now. God, this OST is just perfection. I need more of this in my life. Wait, who is the composer again? I need to know if they've done more music like this.
Oh yeah, baby, Toontown Online is my jam!
But now we've officially reached that part of the game. After our showdown with Jetstream Sam, Raiden and Blade Wolf make their way to a military base. The only military base I know of that would hire an otaku to be the literal first line of defense at the gate. Hey buddy, looking at that shit on the job ain't the best idea, you know. Is that on?
Yeah, we're rolling.
I'm off camera for this part! The reason Raiden's visiting this base is to get some help from this girl named Sunny. I have no idea who she is or what role she plays in the other Metal Gear titles.
I'll play them all soon, I promise.
But she's able to just casually whip up a super jet for Raiden, which will get him from the USA to Pakistan in less than half an hour. Wait a minute. She can do all that at 10? I couldn't even figure out how to use my Pokewalker at that age. Once Raiden gets to Pakistan, our last order of business is to find and stop Senator Armstrong from assassinating the President of the USA. Now, who is Senator Armstrong? Oh boy, here we go. So, remember earlier how Desperado was sent to kill Prime Minister Nemani in Africa? Turns out that was just a distraction for Raiden and the rest of Maverick so that Senator Armstrong, along with his PMC associates, could carry out their master plan. In order to avenge Nemani, Raiden headed to Abkhazia to capture Andrei Dolzev, a Desperado associate and the leader of a military coup. Maverick hoped to learn more from him about what else Desperado were up to. This does not go as planned. Raiden does end up finding out that Desperado, along with another PMC World Marshal, are working on a project in Mexico. Knowing full well this ain't good news, he heads over to check the place out. Here he finds a bunch of children taken prisoner to have their brains harvested and VR trained so that Desperado can use them in future wars. What future war specifically? Well, the one that Armstrong is trying to spark. His plan is to assassinate the current US president while he's attending a peace negotiation in Pakistan. This will turn the two nations against one another. Armstrong will be elected, replacing the current president, and he can then start a war between the two in an effort to rebuild the war economy. Okay, I think I got all of that right. I tried to simplify that as best I could, but I'm not sure. It is a Metal Gear story after all. So be sure to tell me down in the comments below how inaccurate I was. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you want a more in-depth analysis on this game's story, I'm probably not the right guy for the job, so I'd suggest watching Gaming Bolt's video on the topic, or even some Call Me Johnny's video on MGR. Or, you know, you could just play the game for yourself, you know, just throwing it out there. It's after most of this comes to light that we get our first battle with the big guy. But, oh my god, this guy is just the best character in the entire game. It's amazing how much of an impression this guy makes when prior to the finale, we only see his backside at the end of the 3rd level and he only gets mentioned a few times here and there. Senator Armstrong has made such an impact on internet culture and it's just beautiful to witness. Everything he says to his behavior is just hilarious in the best way imaginable. It's rare for a bad guy who's this much of an asshole to be this universally loved. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked again. As for the battle itself, it's actually pretty tough. Of course, Armstrong brought his own toy along with him known as Metal Gear Excelsis. You've no doubt figured out the pattern by now, but damn, this fight rocks. As utterly ridiculous as it is for Raiden effortlessly parrying this thing's blades, you can't deny this is pretty kick-ass. Side note, that's something I just love about this entire game. It knows how silly and over the top it is, but it embraces it. And because of that, we get some of the coolest, most memorable moments like this. But if you thought that was the end of the fight, strap in. Armstrong isn't going down that easily. Naturally, as every US senator does, he harnesses the nanomachines from his scrapped Metal Gear and takes on Raiden in a one-on-one.
Let's go. The hell are you thinking?
This guy does not budge. It doesn't matter how many hits you get in, how many combos you pull off, or how fast you mash that button like in all the haha funny memes. This man refuses to go down and gives Raiden an absolute ass whooping. This guy gets the absolute crap pummeled out of him in every way possible. All the while, Armstrong loses his shit, delivering probably one of the best bad guy speeches you'll ever hear.
And from the ashes a new America will be born. They'll make America great again. Trump was a Metal Gear fan?
Oh, but it doesn't end there though, there's plenty of cutscene left. Normally I get bored of really long cutscenes in games, but come on, how can you get sick of this?
Dummy thick.
What follows right after destroying your controller's buttons and also getting carpal tunnel in the process? Raiden cops even more of a beating from Armstrong and is pretty much on the cusp of death. Until...
Raiden.
Since Armstrong made quick work of Raiden's blade, Sam, even in death, offered up his own sword for the greater good. For this reason alone, it's no wonder why the good old Brazilian samurai is a lot of people's favorite character. In a final effort to stop this war once and for all, Raiden takes up Sam's sword and has one last duel with Senator Armstrong.
Come on. Okay.
Welcome one and all to the final boss. Completely fed up with Raiden, Armstrong pulls out all the stops for this fight. And let me tell you, it's kind of hard. Remember how I said Monsoon will test you on everything you know? Well, think of this fight like your final exam. You need to be on guard and alert throughout this entire battle. There's not a single attack Armstrong deals that won't devastate your health bar in seconds. It doesn't matter how careful or how much distance you put between each other, he's coming for you, and he's ruthless. Every hit, every combo, even every Zendatsu section counts, and you gotta be quick. And if you're out of healing items and waiting for drops, you're gonna have to be pretty patient, as the debris only drops them every once in a while. And speaking of healing, you better believe Armstrong can heal himself too if he pleases. So you better get in there quickly if you don't want that. Oh yeah, one last thing. He has double the amount of health compared to the other boss fights. So good luck. While all this blood pumping action is going down, you are treated to arguably the most memorable and universally loved song in the entire game. It has to be this way. I don't need to tell you how incredible it is, just indulge yourself for a moment. Once you finally get him down to his last bit of health, you get your last and only opportunity to do with Armstrong what you've been trying to do for the last hour. With many final blows and a jab straight to his heart, it's finally over. In the epilogue, we find out that all of the children's brains were recovered by Maverick, and they're gonna make sure that all of them are able to continue living out the rest of their lives happily and not as child soldiers for a terrorist organization. This game has gotten me to say some really weird shit. Raiden makes the decision not to return to work for Maverick, choosing instead to continue carving his own path, because as he puts it,
I've got my own war to fight.
and there I go again, yapping on for way longer than I initially intended. I really have no self-control when it comes to writing my scripts. But in this case, I just can't help myself. I seriously cannot recommend this game enough. Please, if you have a 360, PS3, or even a PC, you owe it to yourself to check this one out. It's seriously that good. You are missing out otherwise. It's not a very long game either. This game only clocks in at around 5 or 6 hours with the main campaign mode. So if you're worried about jumping into a big commitment with this one, don't worry, this one is short, sharp, and shiny. But if 5 or 6 hours just isn't enough for you, this game's got you covered. The Steam version of MGR comes bundled with DLC, one of which letting us take control of Blade Wolf, and the other fulfilling our greatest dreams by giving us a chance to play as the Brazilian samurai himself. I'd love to delve more into these two add-ons, but I think I've dragged this video out for long enough at this point. All I'll say for now is that they both rock, and they're just as worthy of your time as the rest of the game. I think I speak for a vast majority of people when I say that this game is in dire need of a sequel. And as much as that would rule, the closest we're gonna get at this stage is a pachinko machine or something. So, I hope you like gambling. But as it currently stands, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance is an unforgettable experience in every aspect. The gameplay, the story, the characters, and even the dialogue sticks with you for ages even after the credits roll. Not even joking, it's actually unhealthy how much myself and the rest of the web quote this game.
Making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. Can't fret over every egg.
Armstrong has such a way with words. What a guy.
What are you talking about? The guy was pure evil.
I don't know, man. Some of the things he said, the things he stood for, really just resonated with me, you know?
Okay, I don't think this is the time and place to be sharing political opinions, FireAntoniyo.
You know what? Armstrong's right. I'm tired of hiding how I truly feel and what it is that I, FireAntoniyo, really stand for.
Don't do it, FireAntoniyo. People will unsubscribe. More than they already have.
I don't care if I lose friends, I don't care if I lose family. It's about damn time I spoke my mind for once. Kirby's Epic Yarn is just way better than Kirby's Return to Dreamland. And that's a fact.
What did you just say?
You want me to spell it out for you? This will always be better than this.
So after all this time, that's what you truly believe in?
Yep, and no in-depth review or analysis is going to convince me otherwise. Kirby's just so cute and fluffy in this game. Is there a problem with that?
So what if there is? Filthy casual.
You want to take this outside, pal?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. You know what? You were right, FireAntoniyo. I am having more fun with this one than Return to Dreamland.
See? I told you.
Yeah, that one's just a bit too vanilla for my tastes.
Exactly. It's like trying to say that pineapple actually belongs on pizza or something.
It does belong on pizza.